Joe.
All right, then we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and do roll call.
Okay. Robert Johnson. Kevin Yates.
Here.
Shane Flaker.
Here.
Ryan Tibbs.
Here.
Lorelei Cox. Joel Dickerson.
Here.
Chris Gorgon.
Any questions on the minutes or corrections?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Then we need a roll call vote.
So we have Shane Flaker.
Yay.
Ryan Tibbs.
Aye.
Joel Dickerson.
Aye.
Kevin Yates.
Aye.
And Joe Cassidy.
Aye. Review of October bills.
You've got the October bills in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about those. They look a little bit different. For some reason, they're totaling them now under each thing, but it's functionally the same. I know it looks a little different than you're used to.
If there aren't any questions, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay. Joe Cassidy.
Aye.
Kevin Yates.
Aye.
Shane Flaker.
Yes.
Ryan Tibbs.
Aye.
And Joel Dickerson.
Aye.
Financial report for October.
You also have the October financial report in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
If there aren't any questions, is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second. Second.
Roll call.
All right. Joe Cassidy.
Aye.
Kevin Yates.
Aye.
Shane Flaker.
Yes.
Ryan Tibbs.
Aye.
And Joel Dickerson.
Aye.
And director's report. So take it away, Katie.
I primarily just planned on giving you a little bit of budget information for my director's report. But I will start with, as I'm sure you all know, the governor announced new mitigations today. So we are reviewing those. It, as I'm sure you all know, means that we can't do anything indoors. So as of Friday. So we will spend the next couple of days making those plans, moving some things virtually. We've already started working on a virtual plan for some activities for both our adult program and our evening and weekend programming. And we'll try to get that out as soon as we can.
I haven't had a chance to look through all of it yet, Katie, but the how does the care fit in? Like, I know daycares and schools and stuff are open. So is there any clarification for the group of people you serve and care outside of the home, or?
So there is not. And so we fall in this weird category, right? Like, technically, because we can't get clarification from the governor's office in any other way,
Right now.
we are considered a recreation activity.
Okay.
And really at our core, we are.
Right.
And to be honest with you, most of our families, given the current mitigation situation, probably will be home anyway.
Okay.
However, we don't bill under Medicaid waiver, although odds are most of those will be shut down too. I don't know if you know this, but Epic closed down until December. And my guess is we'll probably see, I can't speak for them, but,
Right.
Given that decision, my guess would be we'll probably see that in December too. So, that's where it gets really sticky because we're not childcare and we're not DCFS certified. So there's so many things we could potentially fall under, and we don't really fall in any one single thing. So typically in a situation like this where they've shut down all indoor recreation activities, if we talk to the folks at Paderma and the legal team, they'll probably tell us
Okay.
you'll fall under that. Yeah. And we tried to get some clarification on that last time just to be able to get our adult program back up and running. And we just never could get really clear answers.
Right.
But they were very clear about park districts this time, as
Yeah.
Brian noted.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And then any more questions? If not, then we'll go to the budget.
And Kevin, just to kind of piggyback on that, I don't know that we get a lot of support from other SRAs. A lot of the northern suburban SRAs, many of them haven't even started their adult programs back up yet from the first time they were shut down. So, I mean, Sabrina meets with those folks who are in her position in other SRAs, and they're just shocked that we started when we did. So now the
Yeah,
numbers were much
understand.
different there than they were here. So
Yeah, I understand it's, you got to keep your staff safe as well. I just didn't know if the phone was ringing just for dire need of support of services of any kind. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I just
Yeah.
didn't know.
yeah, it's we'll again try to seek clarification on that, but my guess would be at this point, I've had 5.5 minutes to look at it. So, all right, budget. If we're ready for that, I'm not going to read you everything I sent to you, but I just wanted to thank you in advance for looking at that. This year is definitely an interesting one for all of us, right? There's a lot more unknown than there is known. I won't go through just in depth how the budget is set up, but we're broken into basically two budgets, administration and camps. And camps is just what it's called. It's all the camp expenses as well as summer camp related inclusion expenses, and everything else falls in that administrative budget. That administrative budget has all of our full-time staff costs, all costs associated with operating this building here at HISRA, our vehicles, all the building upgrades and changes that we do. We just add a new carpet that comes out of that budget. All staff expenses associated with our recreation programming, events, special events, ongoing inclusion in your programming, as well as our Focus Adult Day program. And then our camp budget includes Camp Free to Be, summer days, and then inclusion expenses in your summer camps and summer related programs often end up falling in that too. Just a few personnel highlights in this budget for fiscal year 2021. We will keep our program manager position and our administrative assistant position open. We do not plan on hiring those. That program manager position has been open most of 2020, but just kind of anticipating that it didn't really make sense doing less programming and that unknown to fill that position, and it still doesn't. We are using a part-time program specialist to help with some of our Special Olympics things and stuff like that. But we'll leave those positions open and we'll reevaluate. I would anticipate the program manager position, unless things dramatically change, will be open all of 2021. But the administrative assistant position, depending upon what happens and how we ramp back up with registrations and things like that, there is the possibility we could look at what might happen there. But there's so many unknowns with that there's no real way to project that at this point. Brooke, our office manager, is handling all of our registration and billing. Most of that registration was done by that administrative assistant in the past, but again, with less going on, there's less of that activity. It's a little easier to manage. And then we're all taking on a few extra things these days. As far as programming highlights go, a couple major changes. One of the biggest ones being the elimination of Access, the March Madness experience, that field trip day, and the family resource fair. As I'm sure you all know, the IHSA board moved to the boys basketball tournament and the wheelchair tournaments to Champaign. So we'll no longer have the venue to conduct that. Our original intention was that we would likely offer some sort of comprehensive resource fair. But at this point, not really knowing what's happening with major events, our intention was to kind of look at other events out there, see who we could partner with to make that an engaging event like Access was. But with those events not happening, that really doesn't look like anything's going to happen in 2021. We, of course, will continue to reassess that, and we hope that we'll bring that back at some point in the future, but we won't have that event likely in 2021 unless we're able to have something in the fall on a smaller scale. All programming for 2021 has been budgeted to include phase 4 guidelines through May 31st. Summer camps have been budgeted about 75% occupancy, just based on where we think those numbers will be in regard to the feedback we got this year. You know, we had some people who just didn't attend because of the concern over public health. And so just based on that feedback, we budgeted at about 75% occupancy. We, of course, will remain nimble enough to make those changes should we still have mitigations during that time. Our Special Olympics programming has been budgeted at phase 4 guidelines as well through May 31st. We've added monthly sports samplers for 2021, which will allow us to introduce sports that aren't already offered by HISRA and maybe are a little more pandemic friendly. So things like tennis and things of that nature that can maybe be done in groups with social distancing and a little, not a lot of team sport stuff. But it also gives us the opportunity to see what interest is out there from a sports standpoint. We have, you know, added and maybe dropped a sport here or there over the last, 10 or 15 years. But we've not ever done anything like this, and we feel like this is the perfect time to do that. It also allows people who maybe have never done Special Olympics to try it out and try some sports out and see what happens. It also might allow us to introduce some more lifelong sports to some of our participants, things like swimming, golf, tennis, that people can do as they age. Our programming is not projected to begin until mid-January, sorry. We anticipate releasing programs in 2 to 3 month segments, which will allow us to kind of make those changes as we see changes in the guidelines and public health. So that way we're not locked into certain types of programming in, say, March, April, and May. And we can give kind of January and some of February to figure out where that might fall. So we have put some work into a CRM so that we can shore up our mail list, gather more email addresses. And most of you probably know this, but we have not done online registration. We just started online registration in 2018 when we moved to Rec Track with the Peoria Park District. So there's quite a few folks on our mail list that we don't maybe even have great email addresses for. And some of those people are like, people who refer folks to us that work at agencies or things like that. So we're working on how we might get that information out digitally to those folks, as opposed to what we've done in the past, which is print and drop mail, bulk mail a brochure. So I anticipate that'll cut down a little bit on printing and mailing costs. We certainly still will print and mail to those folks that need that, because a certain portion of our population does. But we're working to be a little more just, I guess, nimble and flexible in how we're able to make changes given what's going on. We're still working on that list. Our goal is to have that done by January 1st, but we've put a lot of work into it thus far, and hopefully we'll be able to push a lot of that registration online as well, which will reduce some of that contact that's not necessary. As an added note, serving smaller groups in January through May doesn't necessarily always mean that we reduce our staff. We staff programs based on participant needs, and with the increased need for sanitization, there's additional time before and after a program, as well as sometimes additional staff during a program to kind of make that happen. Excuse me. In addition, anytime that we serve food, we have to schedule staff that are kind of only assigned to that food and drink distribution. And we don't do that a lot right now, but as we move forward, it's hard to say what that will kind of look like. We also know that there will be the minimum wage impact as that continues to rise. So I had started kind of that project of looking at that out several years in 2020, and that kind of got put on the back burner with everything else that's been going on. So I'll pick that back up.
No, don't. It's depressing. Don't do it.
Yeah, you know, I need something to pick me up after the pandemic, right? So I'll pick that back up because it's going to have a major impact, particularly on our camps. And we'll have to figure out where we can get additional funding to be able to either cover that or modify programming levels as a result of it. So, and the biggest impact it has for us too is kind of on that compression, right? When we hire those teachers who come and work for us in the summer, we don't pay them minimum wage, and we never have, but they're not going to want to work for what they've worked for in the past if minimum wage is $15 an hour. So we'll have to look at that, continue to modify that plan and look at it. I did include in my kind of cover letter to you that I emailed out today, just sort of what an idea of what kind of our programming will look like each sort of month and over throughout the course of the year. We're trying to build our programming calendar each couple of months so that we could potentially easily react to changes that are made in regard to, you know, phase 3, phase 4, and hopefully be as flexible as possible without having to cancel everything. So we're trying to really focus on that, which is one of the reasons why we likely won't do much community-based stuff, particularly those first 4 or so months out of the year. So, and then I just added some other miscellaneous highlights for you guys to just kind of be aware of. We'll continue to provide programming and continue to do everything we can to increase the quality and desirability for our participants. We have projected no fee increases for 2021 for programs. Our camps will have a $5 a week fee increase. Other than that, our non-resident fees are typically about 25% more than our resident fees. So our residents get a 25% discount effectively, and that remains the same. We do, the only exception is when we do drop-in programs. We typically don't charge a different fee for that. Those are usually pretty low-cost programs. It's just much easier to manage when it's the same fee regardless. So that's kind of my overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I did also include for you just kind of, I know sometimes you look at the budget and you go, what's budgeted in that account line? So I included a little bit of information in there for you. Any questions?
Katie, thank you for including that extra information. I think that helps out a lot. It actually took away a lot of the questions that I had. So.
All right.
Yeah, doesn't sound like there's any questions. I mean, it all sounds good to me. So this is something that we'll vote on next month, correct?
Ideally, if we could vote on it this month, that would be fantastic.
But next meeting, I mean. Are we voting on it today?
that would be great, unless you have anything you want me to change or do differently.
I don't. It was just my understanding that the Peoria Park District would have to pass their budget prior to this budget getting approved. Is that not?
Our budget is typically approved prior to the Peoria Park District's being approved.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be the first time in 18 years I've heard that, if that's the case.
Oh. Okay, then I just got some wrong information. Then is there a motion to approve the budget?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Do a roll call?
Joe Cassidy,
Aye.
Kevin Yates,
Aye.
Shane Plaker,
Yes.
Brian Tibbs,
Aye.
and Joel Dickerson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So Joe, if we don't, it's kind of a procedural thing, but if the HISRA board doesn't approve it prior to Peoria approving it, then, because I know you guys are voting tomorrow night,
Right.
and what would happen is if HISRA didn't approve it, Peoria would have to then come back only for the HISRA section.
I see.
So I think, I don't know who you spoke to, and it doesn't matter, but they might have just flip-flopped it.
Okay.
In an ideal world, there's no real, like, someone has to do it before the other, but we put a huge wrench in your system if we don't approve it first.
Okay.
And then you
That's
go
fine.
back and you don't approve it.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that it was all lined up. So
No, I appreciate that. Absolutely.
and then this 2021 administrative agreement, that will be approved tomorrow night, or it will be
So
proposed
yeah,
tomorrow night.
yeah, and either one of those is fine too. I think procedurally it just typically is approved by HISRA first and the HISRA board first and then goes back. There is, however, nothing that has changed in the administrative agreement in quite a few years. The last time I think something changed in the administrative agreement was in 2012. Prior to 2012, HISRA paid 100% of our health and dental benefits were 100% employer paid. And in 2012, that changed and we started paying the same premiums that Peoria Park District employees paid. So that was the last change prior to another member district adding. So this is simply the agreement between HISRA and Peoria Park District that says they'll handle those administrative things for us.
Okay. So we're voting on that tonight as well.
Yes.
Okay. So are
If
we ready?
you so choose, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2021 administrative agreement?
So moved. I'll second.
Roll call?
Joe Cassidy,
Aye.
Kevin Yates,
Aye.
Shane Plaker,
Yes.
Brian Tibbs,
Aye.
and Joel Dickerson.
Aye.
All right. So it doesn't look like there's anything else on the agenda. So is there anything that anyone else would like to speak on? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, Joe Cassidy,
Aye.
Kevin Yates,
Aye.
Shane Plaker,
Yes.
Brian Tibbs,
Aye.
and Joel Dickerson.